This is the life of a monster who was taught from birth that the strong prey upon the weak. He learned that lesson well and applied it to every day of his life.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
It's alive!
I was with you.
They're coming to get you. By the power of Christ. This is...
Hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of hello, Mr. Fancy Pants. I don't know what this episode is. We were not told.
I told you. It's
Lindy's
the story
turn.
of a girl who cried a river and drowned the whole world.
This
This
must be that.
This is a boy.
It must be that. Zach, how are you doing?
I'm gonna give you a schmeeps and go. Thumbs up.
Alright. Lindy, how's it going?
Good. Happy to be done with this book and was able to throw this one across the room as well. So.
Now I'm worried. Because when Lindy says, "Now I'm done with this book," Lindy likes this shit. I know what she's doing. She does the same thing every time.
The
So does
Tom.
that mean I'm not going to eat peanut butter for another fucking week or two or some shit again?
No. There's no peanut butter reference. Well,
Had I known, Lindy, it was going to be that bad, I would have bought some whiskey. But
Whiskey.
I did make everybody get up and get their buckets and an extra beverage because this story is a bit rough.
I'm without bucket. I feel if I need to,
Bucket.
I will
think you
just
can
run
handle
away.
it.
I'll probably be all
I
right.
think you can handle it. You've sat through all of my episodes rather well.
Run away.
an African swallow?
An African swallow,
That plays a
maybe.
part in this story.
Holy shit.
Oh, fuck. No.
Well, an African swallow maybe, but no African swallows are not migratory.
What?
It's not
So-
a question of where it grits it.
Well, the light and white of a European swallow.
Blue. No, pink. Ah!
That's easy.
All
So
right.
I've done this a little different.
Okay.
I do not mention who this is through the entire story. I'm going to let you guys try and guess.
So
Okay.
it's like a
But-
mystery.
I don't even want to hear the story, much less who it is. What
I
the
know.
hell?
I feel
I
as the
know.
gauntlet's been thrown down.
Yes, the gauntlet has been thrown down.
Okay.
So
I challenge you to a duel.
this is going to be really, really difficult, and I am going to watch what I wrote very closely so I don't slip up myself and say the name.
Okay.
And yeah. So,
This is a first. All right. Let's try
Challenge.
this.
I like this. I like this.
challenge
accepted.
pushed. Challenge extended and accepted. We ready?
Yes.
All
I
right.
got 4 beers, so
Perfect. June 28th, 1891.
1891.
Oh, it's a lot farther back than what I thought it was going. Okay.
Matilda gave birth to her 8th son. Johann and Matilda were migrants to the U.S. and were trying to obtain the American dream on an infertile parcel of land just outside of Warren, Minnesota.
They were dirt farmers?
They were dirt farmers.
Well, at least he wasn't the seventh son of the seventh son.
Would have
Maiden.
been a lot cooler if he was.
The dream grew more distant with every failed harvest and every new mouth that they had to feed. At this time in history, as soon as a child could walk, they could work. All the boys had chores, and it was now mandatory in Minnesota for children ages 5 and up to attend school. The school time did not take away from chore time. Instead, it was cut into sleeping hours. And on this farm, the kids got roughly 2 hours of sleep, but the rest of the night was spent doing hard manual labor.
What the fuck?
Yes. This was particularly hard on the youngest child. At first, he was simply exhausted. Then his mental capacity started to
Deteriorate?
suffer.
Okay.
Yeah. His schoolwork suffered, and he only answered questions with a blank stare. Shortly
You're running on empty, buddy.
That chicken?
Shortly
Running low.
after very shortly after his mental health started to slip, his physical health deteriorated also. He developed a racking cough that wouldn't go away and an ear infection that left him deaf on one side.
Did you just say schmeebs? What?
No. I get what you're saying. But no.
The ear infection affected his balance to the point where he was unable to walk straight. And
So he's got a bit of a wibble wobble.
he's got a bit of a wibble wobble.
An equilibrium problem going on.
The guy doesn't have to drink. That's awesome. Good for him.
I'm dizzy all the time.
You guys are going to love this part.
Okay.
Due to the family finances, a doctor wasn't an option, so Johann, the father, had the family hold the boy down on the dining room table, and he tried to work the infection out with a kitchen knife.
Stan, get down. Stan, get down.
Luckily for the boy, he passed out before the knife went into his brain. Then he was
So
woken
we had a
by...
little lobotomy action going on here as well.
Mhm.
Oh, no, I've got this. I've got
boy-
this. We can fix this.
Yeah. The boy was woken by boiling hot water being poured into his ear to clean the wound.
That's a Dahmer shit right there.
From that point on, the boy had no control over his temper, and he developed a reputation for being wild and violent.
Rightfully
father's-
so.
Yeah, his father's failed attempts at surgery allowed the bacteria to spread deeper into his head and into his brain, which caused inflammation and seizures, and he ended up being hospitalized after all for several weeks.
And this kid is like, how old?
5.
How could you do that to a child? I don't even give a fuck how poor you are.
The hospital bills destroyed what little funds the family did have. The older kids left as soon as they were able to and never looked back.
Shocker.
Yeah.
They should have taken him with them.
Johann also took off, leaving Mathilde and the youngest alone. And Mathilda was able to keep the home by selling off parts of the land. So, and she did keep enough of the land to run somewhat of a farm, but not much.
It's a fucking dirt farm. I mean, how many? I mean, you got shovels, and like wheelbarrows. What else do you need?
They did have some animals too.
Of course they did.
Once again, shovels and wheelbarrows.
We had
to
us
shovel
some
the shit.
animals. Yeah.
I feel like I know where this is going.
Or if you need mud for pigs, you add water.
Shut up, Carl!
All right. Okay. Sorry about that.
With the father gone, the boy could do as he wished without fear of violent responses. So he started hanging out at local bars where the patrons would let him sip on their whiskey.
Hold on a second. How old is this kid?
I think he's 6 now.
He's 6 and he's drinking whiskey at 6.
Yes.
My grandpa gave me whiskey at 6 if my throat hurt.
Were you hanging out at the fucking bar at 6? Okay.
No.
That's a different story. This is a
If I
different
did, I was
caliber.
only there to watch my uncle's band play. But I wasn't getting served.
Well, he wasn't getting served. The patrons would hang out, he'd listen to their stories, and as they were talking, they would just, here you go, boy, have a sip of this.
There you go.
You go over and do that fancy dance, boy. I'll give you a sip of this here whiskey.
Truffle shuffle and you get a shot.
So
I have to.
the boy was picked up when he got into a gutter fight with another boy, and the cops would have let him go, except he was drunk.
He was 5 and he was
Six.
He's 6.
6 and drunk.
In a gutter fight, as she put it, which I love that.
That's a hell of a motto. That's a hell of a motto right there. One that let a child go out to the bars at 6 years old and hang out and get in a fight.
Get hammered.
Get hammered and get in a fight. Barroom blitzing at fucking 6. Wow.
He continued
that's
to do
great.
this, and whiskey basically became his first love. Then at age 11, he broke into a neighboring farm where he stole a revolver and an apple pie.
Okay. Well, it makes sense, you know.
See, I just wanted the gun,
And
but I could
lawyers,
smell it on the
guns, and apple
windowsill.
pies.
I
Instead
could
of
smell it on the
money.
windowsill. I just wanted it so bad.
It didn't take officers to figure out who had broken in. There were only so many places around this area, and this boy had a reputation for causing troubles. So the boy was handed over to the Minnesota State Reform School, and the school's idea of discipline was flagellation. Once at the school, he was
All right,
passed
so to my stupid self, explain what that is.
flagellation is basically the whip with the cat o' nine tails.
Okay.
You know, where people would beat themselves
Oh,
backwards.
We're flogging Molly is what you're seeing. We're flogging her. All right.
So once he was at the school, he was passed to the warden, who questioned him about homosexuality and then gave the boy a show and tell crash course on what homosexuality was.
So he could learn how to suck a dick or what?
He basically stripped him naked and molested him.
No. Yeah, no. Thanks for painting that picture. I already had it.
Yeah.
The one I had before that was another fucking Monty Python skit where the teacher brings in his wife to show the boys how, in health class, how it's done. And he's like, now what's another way of stimulating a woman? The guy goes, rubbing the clitoris. What's wrong with a kiss, boy? Before you go stampeding toward the clitoris.
So day 2 at the school.
Levity.
Todd's already squiggling. Todd is already squiggling. He's had his head down half the episode. He hasn't said much, and he's squiggling.
I'm like, this fucking dude never had a fucking chance.
No, absolutely not. No,
far.
not even close. He would give it away the lobotomy that his father expertly gave him with boiling water at the age of 5. You're fucked, man.
So far, the only good time this kid's having is, I got fucking wasted at that bar last night, and I got in a fucking brawl. It was fucking sweet. The only thing it was missing, we didn't steal any lawn gnomes, but other than that, it was a good night.
Day 2 at the school at first light, 2 guards collected the boy and marched him to what was known as the painting room.
Oh, boy.
This room was not a place where people went in to paint. It was known as the painting room because this is where children were taken to have their bodies painted black and blue. The boy was
Okay,
stripped.
I was thinking like some bodily fluids being thrown on their bodies. That's a better thing. I'd rather than
He's
get
getting
Butt
worked.
on the wall?
He's
By
getting worked.
Mong Poo?
He's getting worked over like a fucking body bag, probably.
The boy was stripped naked for the second time in as many days. He was fastened onto a wooden bench, and a towel soaked in salt water was placed on his back. After that, he was whipped with a leather
So
belt
hurt more, you twit.
designed by the warden. The belt had holes that would draw the skin up to blister, and if that spot was hit again with those holes, the blister would rupture, and then
Of course.
you've got a sea salt soaked towel sitting on top of you that instantly went into those wounds.
I'm just going to go ahead.
These are Catholics. Gotta be Catholics, right?
I'm jumping out in front of this. This wasn't a monster that was born. This was created.
Yeah.
It was
just fucking.
diabolically created by fucking assholes.
Yes. The warden would come watch the boy get beat, and when the boy realized the warden was getting pleasure from his cries, the boy
You bet he
became
was.
silent. Yeah. The boy became completely silent. No matter how hard he was whipped, he never uttered another cry. After the beatings, it was time for class, then a brief lunch, and then the work day. The boy was given kitchen duty, making meals for the officers, and, trying to get some semblance of revenge, he would urinate in any liquids that he could. So, like their
Fucking
coffee,
right, homie.
that kind of
Dunk
stuff.
your balls in the coleslaw.
And
gonna dip my balls in.
I got my balls in the slaw, man.
he would also masturbate into any food he could.
Fucking right. Do it.
That's a little
How's that gravy, motherfucker? I mean, the white gravy. Thank you. That's my favorite. By the time you guys are done, my dick's going. I don't have anything else left to give. Fucking assholes.
Levity, people, levity.
Since the guards could not break the boy, they started to try harder. The warden shelled out the money to commission.
No, hang on, because I got the far side in my head where they're down in hell and the one guy's pushing the wheelbarrow and he's whistling. You can see like the music notes and the two devils are behind him. Goes, I just don't think we're getting to this guy.
So the warden shelled out the money to commission a machine to dole out the beatings, but the machine
Religion, money, painting room, oil.
The machine was less effective than a human because it couldn't target where it had already hit. So all of the kids in the school who were taken to the painting room actually started to act up again because the machine just wasn't doing anything. And after the machine failed, the warden started punishing the boy himself and added sexual humiliation to the mix.
Just helping out on every level, really.
Wow.
Yeah. So the warden didn't normally take food in the mess hall with the men, but one day to build camaraderie, he did. And when the boy found out about it, he was working in the kitchen, and he was the one making the coffee. So he tried to poison the coffee with rat poison.
Fuck yeah.
Fortunately, one of the supervisors noticed the open bottle of rat poison and stopped the coffee from going out before anyone could consume it.
Good attempt, brother. Good attempt, dude. I don't blame you at all.
Yeah, so the boy was reported for the attempted murder, and they decided to move him from the kitchen to keeping the compound clean inside and out.
You think so?
He gets brought up for attempted murder when they're beating him to death every time.
God, what assholes.
You say potato, I say potato.
Mm-hmm. So all the normal work hours were changed for the boy. He spent his days getting beat and nights cleaning. And they thought that this was going to break him, but he was used to only getting 2 hours of sleep from his work in his own home.
Yeah.
So it didn't break him. It didn't do anything to him. So
He was already broke.
Yeah, he was already broke. But he realized that at night, he's unaccompanied by anybody. He's just out cleaning the compound, so he's got access to all of this cleaning material and all of these chemicals and all of this stuff.
I could build the bombs if I learned some chemistry.
So he decided that it was time to set the painting room on fire.
I am so rooting for this kid right now. I don't. It'll probably change later, but right now.
It changes right now, I promise.
Okay, I'm a fan of this kid for a second.
Yeah. After the fire, the older boys in the hall shared their secret about how to get paroled out of this school. And so the boy changed his whole demeanor. He turned into basically the model student. He paid attention, he learned his lessons, he did everything that he needed to do, and the warden was like, oh my gosh, look, you finally learned, and now it's time to let you go. So he was paroled out a little over a month after the fire.
Oh, wow.
He was released back into the care of his mother at age 13 in 1904. What was left of the farm was in shambles. All responsibility was immediately placed back on the boy's shoulders, but the boy wasn't having it this time. He sold off any animals that he could, and he ripped up all of the crops, whether they were healthy or not. And he he killed off the animals that weren't sellable because they were suffering anyway. They had gone basically to starvation, and they weren't going to live. They were either going to die from starvation or he was going to
Butcher
kill
them, basically.
Yeah. Um, he started drinking heavily again, except now it was a little more difficult for him because he wasn't this cute little boy. He was 11 now, and he couldn't just sit by some guy's side and go doe-eyed and listen to his stories and get whiskey. He actually had to figure out a way to pay for it. So he was stealing what little money he could from his mom, but there wasn't very much of that. So he did find an accomplice, and he and the accomplice would rob men for money, and then he would strip the men that they were robbing. He would make them strip naked, and then he would send them running home, and they were never caught because who the fuck really wants to say that I was robbed by two not even
11-year-olds?
teenage boys, yeah,
Yeah.
and terrified for my life enough that I was willing to strip myself naked and run.
Right.
So the mother, Matilda, she began to fear for the life her son was creating for himself. And he was the only child still talking to her. She had another son that had stayed behind, but he ended up drowning in the river that was close to the property.
This story just gets brighter and brighter and brighter.
Yes. Yes. So one day when the boy came home from the bar, she cornered him and was telling him, you need to tell me what you want to do with your life. We've got to do something. You're destroying your life and you're 11 years old.
I want to rock.
Well, she was shocked when he told her that he wanted to be a priest.
What?
Because I knew everybody else was going to be shocked as well.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So she wrote a letter to the local seminary and let them know that her son wanted to be a priest, and she was hoping for basically, bursary for allowing him to live at home but attend their school. And it didn't take very long. A letter showed up, and he was accepted. He was actually asked to start courses immediately. So at the seminary, he was actually really well liked by everyone except for one German Lutheran priest.
We will ask the questions.
The priest didn't believe the boy had any faith at all and set out to prove it. After a while, so basically the priest would, at any time, he would come down on the boy and start, testing what he knew and his faith, and...
Once again, how could you have any faith if you've been through the life that this kid's went through? I mean,
Right.
fuck that.
Hey, man, you gotta have faith.
All right.
I was thinking more like Prison Sex by Tool on Undertow. Do unto others what has been done to you.
So after a while, the boy's temper ended up getting the better of him, and when the priest was questioning him one day, it actually turned into a screaming match, and this proved a lack of discipline. And
Well, if the priest was screaming back, then he's just as much at fault.
yeah,
What do
But-
you mean I can't touch your
Don't
penis?
So the seminary's response to this was that the boy was now allowed to be the priest was now allowed to use corporal punishment on the boy.
Oh, boy.
So once again, the boy found himself getting beat daily.
Jesus.
The difference here was that the boy didn't live at the seminary. He could leave. So before he would go home, he would go out and scavenge around houses that were near the seminary, and he would steal things, and then he would go out drinking. And on one of his scavenger trips,
So he's going to be a Catholic priest.
on
Nailed
one of his scavenging trips, he went to a farmer's house and he found a Colt revolver that the farmer had kept under his bed. And with it, the boy felt super powerful. So he kept it on his person always. And on what was to be the boy's last day at the seminary, the Lutheran priest was testing him again. And when the boy was insubordinate, the priest started beating him. As the priest was beating him, the gun fell out of the boy's pocket.
Bad idea.
And it landed on the floor. Well, the boy was the one to get to the gun first. He aimed it right between the priest's eyes and pulled the trigger.
Just like Jesse James.
Nothing happened. He fired again and again and again and again, but the gun just
Wouldn't fire.
clicks.
Okay, it reminds me of Snatch. Sneaky fucking Russian. I tell you, that gun would probably do better if you just threw it at him.
So
You mean
due to
Boris the Blade?
Force the bullet dodger?
due to the gun not having been cared for, all of the inner workings were jammed, and the other teachers
It was a
had
shit
heard.
gun.
The other teachers had heard some sort of commotion, so they came into the room, saw the boy pointing a gun at the priest, and the other two teachers tackled the boy, and he was taken to the rector, and they talked about the boy's future.
I was waiting for it. It still hasn't happened. I was waiting.
It was clear that the priesthood wasn't for the boy, so he was sent away, and instead of the cops being called, because if the cops had been involved, the priest would have had to explain how he took a boy from wanting to be a priest to wanting to commit murder.
No, that's not painting a good picture there, is it? No. All right.
Not good. Not good.
He might say he raped me or some shit like that. No, I don't really want that.
So the boy was
What
able to
happens
fool
in
his...
Catholic Church stays in Catholic
Catholic
Church.
Church. Yeah, especially in the 1800s. Oh, I'm sorry, we're in the
yeah.
1900s. Yeah.
It's way different now.
Rule number 1.
So the boy was able to fool his mother for a little while. He was still leaving like he was going to seminary, but instead he would go roam the town and just go out drinking. Sorry, the dog is tangled up in my headset. There we go. Okay.
All right.
But the bursary checks stopped coming, and Matilda, the boy's mom, she confronted him. And when he told her the truth about everything that happened, she decided that the stipulation for him being able to stay and live under her roof was that he was going back to work on the farm. And that just wasn't going to happen for the young man. So he packed up and he left that night. He became a transient, and he kept mostly to himself, but he did find that most of the people he encountered were pretty friendly. Like, if he went somewhere, he was usually pretty quick to find someone who was willing to share a sip of their whiskey or whatever they had, because it was pretty cold, and, you know, that's
So what you're
kind of
saying,
how they
Lindy,
warmed their
is
bones.
it was all the same, only the names would change
Yeah. Yeah.
every day. It seems he was wasted away.
Be hustling.
Okay.
So this attitude ended up serving him really poorly one night when he snuck onto a rail car headed for Nebraska. There were 4 other transient men aboard who seemed friendly enough. They passed a bottle of whiskey around, and they were engaging in conversation, and they offered to let...
Hang on a
Go
second.
ahead.
Hang on a second. Proceed.
Okay. They were basically telling the boy about their life and how he could join them, and they had this whole thing, and they seemed like they had it all right. But then the 4 men stood up and they stripped themselves naked, and
It's
the
Dirty
boy
Mike
was
and
like,
the boys.
the boy was like, you know what? No, I'm good.
No, you're not.
I'm done. I don't have any interest in this. But the 4 men were able to hold him down, and they took turns raping him for the rest of the night. He fought them until he physically could not move any longer. And when they were finished, they threw him, along with his belongings and ripped clothes, from the moving train. I mean, they weren't thieves after all.
Just Dirty Mike and the boys.
No, they weren't thieves. They just stole what little dignity he had left.
Yeah.
It's not over. It's not over.
He came into consciousness the next morning covered in blood and other things. And he had to lay there
Once
because
again,
he...
prison sex.
Yes.
Undertow.
Yes. When he could finally sit up and take a steady breath, he got up, he got dressed, and he walked very slowly to the nearest town.
Picture, what was it, American History X?
Yes.
When he walks past him and disrespects him, but can't really sit down.
Yes.
Oh.
So, in need of some whiskey medicine, the boy went to a tent city, which typically he had
Avoided.
avoided in the past just because he liked to keep to himself. And he did end up in a conversation with another younger man. They said that he wasn't quite out of his teens yet. So they decided to walk a little while sharing some rot gut whiskey. And when the boy was good and inebriated, that other man called out to his buddies, and they too passed the boy around. Fortunately for the boy, he passed out drunk just after they started. So he wakes up in another field, and this time when he wakes up, he had the idea cemented in his head that sodomizing boys must be an unbeatable pleasure since so many men were so desperate to do it.
Okay, so I'm going to say right here, this is going to be the part where I stop feeling bad for it. I still think that this was created, but it's going to get...
I've got a feeling we've got a bit of a Dexter on our hands. But
all right. It took me a minute. As soon as she said train car, I was like, nah, nope. Now I know this one.
So the boy made his way back west toward home, committing robberies so he could eat and get whiskey.
Fair enough.
When he was able to add a gun to his person again, he started using it to make the men he was robbing have sex with each other while he watched for his amusement.
so he did not participate.
Not yet.
Self-participation, maybe. He might be the fellow in the corner.
He's a bit of a voyeur.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He hopped another train, and while he was raping another transient, he was caught by a brakeman.
I learned it by watching you.
So he forced the other transient to rape the brakeman, and then he raped both of the other men.
Good,
When he
bad,
got-
I'm the guy with the gun kind of situation.
Yes.
When he got back to Minnesota, he was picked up on a larceny charge, and the officers were not able to determine his age because he was so emaciated, and they figured he was an orphan who had gotten lost, so he was placed in the Red Wing Training School. And this was actually more of a school to the boy and super easy for him. True, he did have to work the school farm and did get minor beatings, but this felt more like a paradise compared to his life prior.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the school didn't dissuade him from being a predator, though. He raped the other boys in the night using violence and shame. He believed that sex was a product of violence and pleasure could only come at the expense of somebody else's pain.
It was what he was taught.
Sex could only come.
It was what he was taught.
It was what he was taught, yes. The boy actually made a friend at the school. The friend's name was Jimmy, and both of the boys were super feared.
Wrestle with Jimmy.
Something is bubbling.
The pair made an escape plan, and under the cover of darkness, they were able to slip the grounds. They had an immense hate for churches, so at night they would break into churches, steal anything of value, and then they would torch the place.
Oh, sounds like an upcoming episode, but I won't mention what one.
Sounds very Norwegian.
4 months into their actually extremely profitable plan, Jimmy was picked up trying to fence some candlesticks from a church, And he was sent to prison and never released.
For candlesticks?
Or candlesticks?
Well, because they pinned all of those church fires and robbings on him.
Fair enough. Okay. Yep.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
for the next several months, the boy rode the rails across dozens of states. He was stopping in bars and getting hammered, but he would take off from these cities before anyone could actually learn his name. And just about the time he turned 15, the money that he had made from the churches ran out. He was in Kansas. He lied about his age and joined the army.
Gross.
Yeah.
No, I'm at
Everything-
Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everything about boot camp was super easy for him, except for taking orders.
Not a big fan of that, huh? That's going to work
yeah.
out well. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked out super well for him, yeah. So while at boot camp, he found ways to actually sneak out and off of the base to go drink and have sex. And he was spending his earnings as fast as he could get them. So he needed more money so that he could keep drinking. He found the local fence and asked what military items went for the most money. And a little over a week later, he was caught with a gunny sack full of uniforms sneaking off base.
I'm gonna go ahead and pause it. If you don't know what a fence is, it's not just like a row of like wood and it's where you could take stolen goods and sell it off for profit. It's called a pawn shop now.
Yes.
It's not like 6 feet high and like, all the way around your yard. Is that what you're saying?
So this name should be familiar to everyone. William Howard Taft
Heard it.
made the decision to make an example out of the boy. And the boy was dishonorably discharged and sentenced to the maximum sentence allowed for his crimes in Leavenworth, which at the time was 2 years.
It's how strict.
Yeah. Well,
You obviously don't know
Well, it's-
Leavenworth.
It's Leavenworth.
in the early
Years of
1900s.
Leavenworth is 50 years. Easily.
In the early 1900s. So his first few weeks there were brutal, but he survived by showing no weakness or fear, like he had been taught at the
Through past experience.
Yeah, I
through
would
past
think
experience.
I think every bit of his emotions was probably already dead. There was nothing to.
I was
There
gonna
was
say,
nothing to
this kid's a
attack
shell.
anymore. Yeah.
He's a shell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A husk of a person, basically.
Yeah.
Prisoners at Leavenworth were split into companies. So they were basically your team, and if one prisoner in the company was punished, then everyone in the company was punished. And
Stand there and eat this donut. Like everybody else does push-ups.
so we already know that the boy has a
As long as
rebellious
it's
nature.
Creamfield, Matt. As long as it's Creamfield.
So we already know the boy has a rebellious nature against authority, and he did everything he could to piss off the guards. So
I won't do what
the-
you tell me. I won't do what you tell me.
So the rest of his company were pissed at the boy because of his rebellious nature. They all ended up being punished almost every night.
So it is Pyle from Full Metal Jacket. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
He became the target of rapes and beatings, but he fought back, and eventually he lost his appeal to the attackers because nobody wanted a fight,
Yeah.
I guess. But he did start to earn the respect of the other prisoners when they realized he was as quick to fight back with the guards as he was the other men. He was beaten almost to death a few times, and he was tightened into a straitjacket.
I've been fighting in buckets since I was 6.
Well, once you figure out that you're not made of glass, you figure out you could take a punch, you could take a hit, you can take these beatings and get back up. This dude's just been taught it too many fucking times. It's
Yeah.
This whole episode, I'm just like, it's undertow. It's
Oh.
I have found some kind of temporary sanity in this. Shit, blood and come on my hand.
So
Nailed it.
he was frequently tightened into a straitjacket, and he was also made to walk. Like when they would go out to the yard to break rocks and stuff, he was put in a ball and chain, and in order to walk, you had to carry that ball. So this
Social
actually had
distortion.
That's exactly what was in my head too.
all the ball and the things that the guards were doing to the boy was serving to make his body as hardened as his attitude was.
Yeah, they're strengthening him is what they're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah, they're just making him
Yeah.
stronger. Plus, the other inmates see that. It'd be like a Hannibal Lecter situation where you're in a straitjacket or carrying a fucking ball while you're walking. Everybody else could be like, yeah, we probably don't fuck with that guy. That dude's
Yeah.
crazy as shit. He's bad shit. Okay.
Well, the guards did begin to fear him, and
Yes.
he's
As he turns into Bane style fucking
yeah,
physique.
yes, basically.
What do you want from me, guys?
And he started to seek revenge
You
on
can
his
die when I
attackers
say you
from.
can die.
Now you have my permission.
Yes.
He started to seek revenge on his attackers from his early months in prison, and he became their dominant.
Yeah, I would think so. This fucking dude's fucking jacked now. He's got no soul left. He's got no heart. He's got no emotions. And he's fucking huge.
Huge.
Good job, prison system. Well done. America's
really-
nightmare.
At least you never skipped leg day.
Yeah.
No.
Don't skip leg day.
Fuck leg
It's
day.
important.
You're going to find out just how important. He was released in 1910 at the age of 19.
Just to the prime of everything. Just the strongest son of a bitch ever.
Yep. So now he was a man, and nothing could stop him from
Was he
his
a
reign of terror.
man?
He was a fucking monster
Yes.
from
he
this
was.
point on.
Yep. Absolutely.
He was 6
Can we
foot
take
tall.
Can we take a break real quick? Because I gotta pee, and I know this is a good place to take a break because yeah.
So he's now 19, and he's 6 foot tall and 199 pounds of pure muscle. He took to riding the rails again. As he rode the rails, he took out his anger and desires on other transients. He didn't prefer women.
That's a tall man for at that time, actually. Even I mean, I'm 6 foot tall, which I'm not a tall man now, but at that time it was pretty. I mean, he was a fucking linebacker.
Shut up, you little girly man. You little short girly man. I sit here at 6'2", and I'm average.
That's not true. It's not average. You're above average.
6'2" and 195. Yes. I will kill you if I want to. But first, I will stick my penis in your anus, and you will not like it at all. You're lucky I will spit on it.
Okay, so
Well, this
he
took a
didn't
turn.
he didn't prefer women, but on this trip he decided to make an exception. And-
I'm open.
She
know,
was
no,
a
I
very
don't
handsome
I don't
lady.
like fish. I
She's
don't
a
like
very
fish.
handsome lady.
It was a sturdy woman, and I was aroused.
She's got a beard, a big bushy beard.
Well, by the time he reached Denver, Colorado, he had a first-class case of gonorrhea.
Okay.
Gonorrhea, cha-cha-cha.
Nope.
So
Gonorrhea.
he ended up getting picked up and jailed for stealing a bicycle.
I don't practice gonorrhea, but you're gonna touch these balls.
Okay, some sublime. Okay, all right. Yeah, no, I get it.
While he was in the jailhouse, he met and got cozy with a safecracker who was imparting his wisdom when the man was released. Not the safecracker, the man that we're
Yep.
going over. The safecracker, however, hadn't finished teaching the man his lessons yet, so the man broke back into the jail to try and break the guy out, but they caught him when he broke back in, and he ended up serving more time.
My schooling wasn't over. Okay.
So
I was like,
I
hey man,
learned
I
one
didn't mean to
spell.
escape. I just thought I would come back. I'm sorry about
I
that.
must
Sorry
beg
about
you.
Yeah.
The safecracker took this to mean that the other man had developed feelings for him. And usually when they would meet, it would be in just like an empty cell, or they would find an empty room or what have you. So they found an empty cell to go back into to continue their lessons.
Fornicate.
And this
Continue their lessons.
I watched Oz. I know.
the safecracker kissed the man and then attempted to strip the man. And when he attempted to strip the man went to his natural instincts that he's developed over the course of his life and turned to violence and turned the tables on the safecracker. He raped him and ended up not getting the rest of the information he needed anyways.
So what you're saying is now he's a man, a manny man.
Cracked his safe anyway.
Didn't crack his crack.
He robbed his prison wallet.
No, I didn't listen for the clicks. I just kept pumping.
But did he make a deposit?
I'm sure he did. Yeah. There's
The
not much
safecracker?
point in it if you're not going to.
The safecracker avoided the man, and the man
She
was
said crack.
released a month later.
Of course he was. What's he done wrong?
Yeah. He went back to robbing churches, but this time he also stole bicycles to get him from town to town via dirt roads.
God, I love that so much. She stole bicycles.
Bicycles.
He ended up
Get on your bikes and ride.
He ended up at the Kansas State Fair at Dickey's Wild West show.
That sounds so appropriate.
Oh, that's a mouthful.
This is a dick.
Is it? Yes.
And Dickey himself offered the man a job after Dickey had witnessed the man in a brawl in the stands.
Where he whipped the shit out of a bunch of people, I'm assuming.
Yeah. He appreciated the way that the man handled himself in that fight, and they needed some security, basically. So,
He appreciated the way he handled himself, as in he became aroused.
well, the man didn't end up making it very long with the traveling circus. He knocked out a horse for bumping into him, and
Fucking Mongo. He's Mongo.
while Dickey,
Mongo don't like horse. Horse bad.
while Dickey didn't care
Mongo like
if
candy.
he fought with the people, he couldn't let him harm the animals because the animals were basically the show.
Did Anton LaVey put a curse on him? Was he in the same circuits? Inquiring minds need to know. was he the Calliope player? Was this son of a bitch?
So the man couldn't let it go. So he jumped onto the train that the show was traveling on when they left, and he rode with them quietly until they stopped for the night in an area where it was basically just an abandoned field. They were just setting up tents and that kind of stuff. And
where else is the circus going to stop? Yeah, that's kind of like their thing, right?
Yeah. Well, he waited until nightfall when everyone was asleep.
Shocker.
And he took a barrel of lantern oil and he doused the tents that the cook and the horses were staying in with the oil, and then he lit them on fire.
It must have been shitty food. I don't know.
When the horses caught on fire and were finally able to break out of their tent, they set almost all of the other tents on fire.
It's not funny, my tent is on fire.
It took almost the whole night for the circus people to get a bucket chain going to be able to put the fires out. And
The circus people, she says. I love that. The circus people.
None of the animals survived, and so unfortunately, neither did the circus.
Holy shit. So this
They
guy
did eat
just-
well for a while, but it was well done. Probably.
Yes.
It's like, do you want well done lion, or would you like well done giraffe?
Crocodile. What are you after?
And we're going to stop there.
Okay.
Okay.
We will have more for you on The Man next week.
This is weird. This is weird to do an episode like this, but it's fun because we don't know who it is.
Well, I do know who it is. I don't know his name.
I don't know who it is. Yeah,
I can't think of his name, and I'm not going to look it up. But I know the story. It's like a fucking
story about a man named Brady.
Could be. It's like
I
a.
told you. It's the story of a girl who cried a river and burnt the whole world.
It's a batshit Indiana Jones. I mean, really, from all the shit he's going through, escaping from these places and going to this. Now he's in a circus, sets this on fire. It's like, that belongs in the museum.
Circus people.
All right, we'll pick it back up right there next week. Thanks again,
Thank
Lindy.
you, Lindy.
This is fun to do it this way. It's not nearly as painful, even though I've already had I'm on my sixth beer. Six beers. 'Cause you're like, this is a bad one. I was like, shit. Okay.
He's outpacing me on this one, so I feel pretty good. But also,
You're
I don't
drinking.
feel good.
Hey, you're drinking tall boys, so it's
That's
not the
true.
same.
Yeah, I got some talls. over here. Damn, Hanky, these ain't talls.
As our
If nobody
father,
remembers
who
that movie.
art in Texas, used to say, he'd buy the big oil cans of Foster's, and he'd always tell Mom, "I'll only have 2 before you get there."
I did that when I was a kid too.
Oh, they're
My-
fucking bigger than pints.
My mom would say, she's like, okay, how many beers you can have? I was like, 3. I'll only have 3. She's like, okay, you can go. And then I'd come home. And then my dad was like, she's like, how many beers did you have last night? I was like, 3. And then my dad goes, how big were they? I was like, son of a bitch. Monkey reached my operation.
They were
40s.
ounce.
They were
They
40s.
were 40 ounce
40 ounce.
beers. Only had 3, Dad.
Only had 3. You didn't specify 12 ounces or not. So I technically wasn't lying. Because when she asked, I did have to say. Dad's like, how big were they? Motherfucker.
On that note, Matt, let's wrap it up.
Okay. Thank you, Lindy, very much for this episode. You done it better than I would have, because like you said, you were like, I think these episodes would be better if I did them, and you're not wrong. Because mine would have been so much rougher, probably. But
Matt,
Well, you
put it
see
on, like,
me,
and then this
I had to
motherfucker.
get all relaxed and comfortable to get into
Yeah.
this.
You can bring it out next week if you want. Todd.
No, it's good. It'll get after it next week for sure. But thanks everybody for listening, and please give a like, rate, review on Spotify. And once again, there's that voice message thing that you can get in on and fucking leave us a message and tell us some stuff. And
Leave us a message on
Fuck
if
you.
you
I hate
liked
the
the way that
podcast.
we did this or not, or well, the way that I did this or not so far, because you still have another week of this. I'm not ending the story here.
Yeah,
Right.
let's know. This
we
is
got
fun.
another one coming. Coming a lot, actually, as this story goes.
Buckets and buckets, and hopefully there's not a hole in that bucket.
It's radiator.
Ba, boom, ba, ba, bow, wow.
Okay. All right. We will. I am Spar.
I'm Zach.
Lindy.
Meet Popsicle. You gotta say it, asshole. People listen too. They don't see you like
Yeah, they
waving.
can't just see you every time.
I
man
am
of the
yeah, I'm the man of the mask.
He's the man in the
All
box
day,
too.
bitches.
Okay.
All right. Till next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday, guys. Later.
Later.
Bye.
Okay, I want to hump you.
crazy.
They're coming to get you by the power of Christ.
This is Hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
What's my line, Zach? What's my line?